call the meeting, committee meeting, the Building Properties and Cemetery Committee meeting to order. It is now 2:10 in the afternoon on Friday the 23rd. Thank you for everybody coming, and those people who wish to speak, if you'll please go to the microphone so that it can be heard by people watching the video later. That's been requested by several citizens who have watched the videos, and they'd like to, they can't hear the people speaking from the audience. Let's go ahead and start with our first item on our agenda, which is the Hometown Hero banners. And in our packet we have some information about what can be done. The banners are $100 each. I believe, Jennifer, you mentioned that Bev Ames from the Chamber was also looking into some information. But I think that what we have here is the banners are going to work with the existing brackets that we have on the poles. They have a 3-year warranty, and there's a couple of different styles that can be selected that's in our packet. I think we need to go ahead and decide, on the design we want. There's one from Boykins. That town did a Boykins honors, and then they have the picture of the veteran, and they have their name and the years of service, and they also what branch of service they were in. Another one is simple. It just says, "We proudly honor," and then they have the same information about the veteran underneath, the branch of service, the picture, and their name and dates of where they serve. There's an application process too, that the company that has sent this to us, and my understanding that DBI would be helping with the application, receiving the applications. Does anybody have any input on this?
So we're going to select one? We're going to let this more than
Well,
we're
going to send our recommendations to the full council,
Okay.
but if we can decide on which one you think would be a better, and this design over this one, our first choice, second choice.
And there may be other designs. These are just the two he sent me for samples.
Okay. Also, we have, there's a 3-week turnaround, and I think it's a little late to start now, because I'd really like to see us have them from Memorial Day through Veterans Day, giving a longer time frame for them to be displayed.
Right.
And then they'll be used 3 years consecutively. So then the application can be, we can work on this, get the approval, and then have it so we can start taking applications in January.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Now, Philip, what were your specifics that you wanted to read? You said you wanted some parameters of what we wanted.
Yeah, what do we do after 3 years? Do we rotate them out? Do we give them to the folks?
If they're in still good shape, we could continue to use them, but I would like to continue to take applications. We'll probably end up having a waiting list.
I think there's 80-ish poles total downtown.
Okay.
I'm sure Billy has counted them. I have not myself, but I think
Okay.
if I remember correctly. I don't know if you get all 80. Do we want to stop at a point? Do we want to rotate them? What can the family expect for my $100? I don't like to. Oh, by the way, you only get to keep it up for 1 year, or what are the rules?
It would be definitely for 3 years, because there is a 3-year warranty on that. And if they last longer, they could stay longer. Is
it our intention that we would prefer, if we sell enough of these, that we would take down the American flag ones and fill them up with just the veteran flags? Would we do that many, or are we going to cap it at half and leave half American flags and half these? That kind of thing.
I think if you get maybe 10 up or 20 up, and then people driving through town and they see them, more people are probably going to want to.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. You can get a waiting list of them.
We already have a flag over
to
here,
have
though.
nothing but these downtown. Do we want American flag? I think the armed services thing, we can take those down, put them out.
Yeah.
We can figure that. The American flag ones I do like. That's my personal preference. Would we want every other pole, like an American flag and a hometown hero, American flag, hometown hero, all that kind of stuff? Do we want to
That would
stop
look
at 40?
nice.
Yeah, we could stop at 40.
Yeah, that would
Something
look
like that, and
nice.
then make a 3-year commitment, as long as they're warranted, make a 3-year commitment that at a minimum, this banner will be available for 3 years. And then after that, obviously, is the family gonna pay additional to have it back up, or is $100 a perpetual figure? Is
It would have to be for a new banner because
after 3 years?
after 3 years.
So it only guarantees them 3 years of having the banner displayed.
They're still good though.
I can't imagine that they're gonna be horrible every year. How long have we had these?
Here's the difference. The one thing, the reason I even bring it up is, the first banners we did were cloth, and those things have lasted. Those American flag ones, they're nice. And those things will last a long time. We've never laundered them, we haven't done anything, and they've been up 365, except for maybe at Christmas time, for, we bought those probably in 2012, maybe? We've had them up a while. If you remember, we had the flag poles, and they were all getting hit by trucks.
And what are these?
These are vinyl.
Fine.
Fine.
They're not gonna be as durable.
How good of shape are the military vinyl
I
ones?
think they still look good, but you can see that there's some of that paint flecking off, even after, we've had them up a year or so. They're not as durable as the cloth banner. So I think after a period of time, they are gonna start to deteriorate. And it's not like I can get Cavalier cleaners to wash them. I mean, I think once they start coming apart, they're gonna come apart. So, I think we need to have a term. This $100 gets you 3 years of display. I don't think you can just make it perpetual. If somebody keeps them up there and the banner's in bad shape, and I think we just say, after 3 years, you may stay up, but we're not guaranteeing you more than 3 years, okay? Because the banner may go all the doo-doo-doo. Now, if
And
you
I
want,
think we need an exact number of flagpoles. Nobody has an exact number.
I think Billy has counted them, but I think there's about 80 of them that you can count.
Plus, you're gonna be putting poles around Rigglesworth
Mhm.
and down
You know,
Dinwiddie.
down at Wigglesworth, we could take those military banners and put them up around. You know, we could do something like that to keep a consistency.
And I don't know, are they front and back?
They should be front and back.
Okay.
They're not gonna look good if they're not front and back. They need to be front and
No,
back.
they won't be.
And with the banner, if somebody wants to keep it another 3 years, they have to pay another 100.
Another 100 to replace the banner, but if the banner's still pretty good, I don't think you need to charge them again. It's not
Okay,
spending
I
the
got you.
Right.
But I do think that if somebody after 3 years and the banner's kind of rough shape, I think we should just give it to the family.
Right.
You know, we don't need to.
And then make sure that we keep it in a file somewhere so we'll know
Yeah,
who to
so
send
how
it.
do we get a hold of somebody and give them the banner back after a period of time? And I think it needs to be more finite. And you might find out, gosh, we've gotten such a big response, more people can get in, more people want to buy a banner for Grandpa and they can't. How do we keep it rotated? I think a family is gonna have a question, it's like the cemetery, it'll be near and dear, and you're gonna end up offending somebody if we don't have a set of rules that everybody signs when they give you your $100. Just like the cemetery, these are the rules and I acknowledge that.
And we need to, it won't be, Mama's, Papa's picture's not gonna be on the corner of Main and Tavern.
You don't get picked, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
it'll be rotated and,
I think we just need to have something like the cemetery, that we get somebody to sign and say, I understand after 3 years, the town may decide that the banner's in bad enough shape, that they can give me the banner back, or I can buy a new one.
And Jenny brought up a good point earlier. If we were to run them from Memorial Day to Veterans Day, the persons need to be deceased.
I would think so, yeah,
Yeah.
that would make the most sense to me. But I see in South Boston, there's some people that don't look very deceased. You know, there's guys that
Say the
were,
Iraq War.
Iraq War.
Unless they're
Yeah.
before hearts there.
So
They're alive.
do you need to distinguish that if you run them from Memorial Day
I would say,
to Veterans Day? Do they have to be deceased?
if you don't, we're gonna get a bunch of requests. Everybody, I mean, that has a husband or son of the National Guard, they're gonna be wanting to do that. I think it probably does have to be something like that, deceased.
I think really, I mean, technically, the only thing that matters is that on Memorial Day,
It's the deceased
you're
one.
deceased.
Yeah, but Veterans Day is for all of them, but
Right.
I think, I don't know, I haven't given probably enough thought to really say exactly, but I think it does have some merit that it needs to be perhaps a deceased military.
Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and table this until next time we meet then, since we're gonna wait till January to start it. We've got a few more months to,
And everybody scratch out
Think
the
about
pictures,
it,
and then we can compile them in one list and
Yeah.
see what makes sense. with it.
okay. And, I was mentioned earlier at the beginning of the meeting, Bev, if you need to speak, you come to the speaker's
I was
mic,
just gonna ask a question.
okay?
If you want to
But you guys
ask a question, you gotta
are
come
doing
over
it, so
here
it won't
too.
make any difference.
No question from Bev then, okay. All right, then we'll go ahead and we'll continue this till next time. Next up on the agenda is Sea Park. And I think, Jenny, you wanted to speak. Yes, yes, please.
Remember your own video. Say smile for the camera.
Well, I don't have a lot more to add from when I spoke at council, but we had asked, or I'd asked that on behalf of the committee that we do something with the Christmas huts to start out with. You know, we want to put an end to Christmas in the park year round. And the Christmas houses are in pretty poor shape. If you decide you want to keep them, then we need to talk about how we're going to fix them, where we're going to put them, what they're going to look like, all that. We've already had people adopt the buildings to, their job was to decorate them, take care of them, and that hasn't really worked out. I think they decorated them. that was kind of it. So there's one large building that's kind of behind the library up against the woods that I wouldn't be, I mean, that one's probably one of them in the best shape. I mean, it still needs some,
I think the
Some
windows are
fixing.
dry rot and
okay.
And not hard to fix, we put signs, it's got that aluminum sign, somebody graffitied on it, and then we painted over it, and it could use a facelift for sure. I mean, we're available to try to help with any of that kind of stuff, but do we even want to keep Christmas houses in the park? You know?
I mean, I don't, I'm not asking, I would love for them to not be in there at any time other than,
Thanksgiving to New Year's.
yes. But I don't know if the town has the ability to move those things around.
Flatbed truck, and we've got a forklift, but
if they don't fall apart.
if they don't fall, I think
Right.
moving them, they may make it a year, but I don't know if they'll make it 2 years or what. You just run the risk of the crazy things busting into pieces.
And, you know, we haven't talked past this point as a committee because we're waiting to find out what the solution, you know, what the answer to this is going to be. Then we'll look at, okay, then what are we going to do? What are we going to do different? What are we going to add to Sea Park? You know, we certainly want to continue Christmas there and make it really nice and special. But I think it might be time for a little change.
What kind of change you thinking?
Getting rid of the houses would be change number one. Or fixing them up and bringing them in. But again, we're talking about how realistic is that going to be? How long are we going to be able to do that? So, you know, that would be the next step. If you say we're going to take the houses out, then our committee will come together and we'll talk about what can we do for, what kind of decorations, what can we do for Christmas, and we'll come back to you with that.
Do people update the decorations at Christmas that have adopted them, or is it the same? They don't.
No, they've just been left up permanently.
I didn't know if people
years.
come in every
They
year.
may have,
I didn't know if people came in every year and update the decorations. Or they-
I don't
bring it to a head,
know.
why don't you just bring it to council?
Yeah,
Just get all, and I've seen this a couple times with council, or the committees, let's just ask the whole council
Well,
if they're
she
willing to
did.
take them out.
Yeah, it was
They
referred to
got
committee.
referred here.
got referred to here, yeah. I would recommend that we salvage the ones we can and repair them.
And then where are we going to store them?
Do we have behind the Bab shop to store them, or,
Got a million places to store 'em.
okay.
And how are we gonna salvage them? Who's gonna be responsible for that?
Who donated them to begin with?
Bobby Daniels.
Okay.
And your church donated one, right?
I think so. I think we had a little house over there at one time.
I thought
You
you,
don't want it anymore?
did you donate the,
I don't-
did you y'all didn't donate the church that's out there?
I think that is ours.
Okay. But for the most part, it was Bobby Daniels.
And you have a list of volunteers that have been, did you get a list of volunteers, of people that would,
Jennifer has that.
Jennifer, oh, you have that? Okay.
The list who has
Adopted them.
adopted them, yes.
Okay. Can we send a list, a letter to them, asking them if they were willing to repair or replace any, and then we'll have that information for the next council meeting. We want to be as much in front to have the information for the council, full council, as we can. And that they need to get on that post haste.
Is it the intention that we keep those out?
If-
I mean, I think that it boils down to, we can fix them, not a problem, we can move them, all that. But y'all even want Christmas houses in the park, these old Christmas houses in the park. I think that's the deeper issue.
We don't want them there anymore.
Do you?
Do we?
Does the committee?
Do you want
Citizenry?
to? Do you want the
It's
houses?
more, go ahead, I'm sorry.
As a citizen, the last year that Bobby had the train event, I thought it would be nice for my nieces and nephews to go, because generally, I don't have children that age, but we went in, and this was during, it was light outside, so it's been a long time since I've been in the park, but they were, you couldn't see inside, it was murky, it was a real letdown. So we went over to the church park, and that one that you say is in better condition is the one, I think, where they have Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus, that people come in. It just so happened that I was there another night, and they were there. But those others are dark and creepy looking. So I think, there are a lot of lighted displays that you could have. There's, an arch that has it through there if you really want to. Do we have that many people coming through the park?
We don't have a whole lot of people, but when we do the lights, the
grand
illumination,
illumination.
the town, it is a full park. And then when we have Santa, kids coming to see Santa, the Rotary gives cocoa and cookies to the public, and the people are walking around the park during those times, on the weekends.
Why don't we try this, okay? So that we see progress and movement. Instead of just necessarily saying the ones that can be salvaged, other than the Santa house and the one across from the Santa house where they do the cocoa and
Yeah.
the Rotary does it, that seems to be in pretty good shape. Why don't we get the rest of them up, take them to the bus shop, and then
Evaluate.
evaluate them, see what they're like. And I think there's some merit to maybe changing this. Those things have been there 25 years. As long as I've been around Blackstone, those rascals have been
Well,
sitting
that
out there.
one with
The paddle wheel and all that.
that one looks very nice, but it doesn't look Christmassy.
Yeah.
Right, that, if you're gonna keep anything in the park year round, it would probably be that one.
Yeah, because that one doesn't, the outside doesn't look Christmassy, it's just,
Why don't we do that?
Okay.
And then maybe even the committee can go over there and look at them with us and say, you'll know what we're talking about. You guys come over and say, yeah, this is really nice. Or this is
okay, so you're talking about keeping the big house that Santa and them.
The Santa's in, and what I would propose to that one, for this year, let me get some new siding on that thing, because it's got vinyl siding with faded graffiti and stuff.
Are you talking about doing it
Before Christmas, we'll do that.
and the church, is that the one you're talking about leaving?
No, there's a cedar sided one right across from the Santa house, where they do
Or we do the cocoa and cookies, right
Oh.
across.
we'll leave those two, the others we'll get up, and we'll take to the bus shop, and let's do an evaluation, let's see what can be done, or maybe a volunteer group can say, I'll go down there and take this one and work on it right here. Okay?
Do you want me to send the letters, like, so she should see?
Oh, yeah, notification, there needs to be no, anybody getting their feelings hurt or slighted, but that'll at least marginally get started what she wants to do, and at the same time, you can gauge that citizen response, and, oh my God, we've got to save the
Clock tower.
The clock tower, exactly.
Yeah.
So, to make some movement, why don't we just try that? We can move them back if they're okay, and we get them painted or do whatever.
We still need to take this to council for their approval.
No, well, you can, obviously, but I think we're not permanently taking them out of the park. We're just gonna get them over to the bus shop and see what everybody thinks about it.
It's a maintenance move
Huh?
at this point, a maintenance evaluation move.
Check it out.
Okay.
And then if the committee comes back and says, put them back, Phil. No, stick them back in there, or if the committee says, let's go to council and put a plug on these things, then you go to council.
So whether we put them back, leave some in there, whatever we do, committee would like to be able to make recommendations as to the appearance of them. I don't want to just turn them over to different people and say, do what you want. We want to have some, some theme or structure. Is if whatever we're gonna leave in the park needs to be suitable for leaving there. Yeah, we can put lights and a wreath on it and then take it down, and it doesn't look Christmassy anymore.
Yeah.
Are you agreeable with moving all but those two?
Or do you wanna send the letters out first?
For God's sakes, move them.
Okay. Well, we can move them, and in the letter, we'll say the buildings have been
On
moved.
such and such a date and time, Josh will have the gates open, and we'll host an open house on Friday afternoon or something, and maybe we do drinks. and
Are we gonna
alcohol.
have, is there gonna be kickback from the community that we're even moving them? Are we gonna have kickback from the community that we're even moving them without any kind of notification or bring it to
You
full
may,
council?
yeah, if you run the
And
risk of doing that.
I think and I know,
You're gonna have kickback whether, if we leave them, if we move them, there's gonna be kickback. The
You're gonna
bottom
get
line
that from
is,
Jenny if we don't move them.
well, they look awful. They're, I get comments, people I know come in from out of town, it's like, oh, I bet that used to look cute.
yeah.
Used to.
And I went around our committee meeting, and I took pictures and I sent them to all of y'all, so, I mean, there are,
They are in
the
bad shape.
pictures are.
Okay, we'll make a decision. You in agreement that we go ahead and move them for maintenance and then move them back
And
after?
if you do get jumped, we'll put them back in there and we'll have a meeting and sit down and call Jenny and have her come down there.
Which,
But at least this is movement. At least this is something going on. And it may spur people who haven't come to the meeting, maybe they'll come to the next one and say, we really want those houses back, and then you'll get engaged. Maybe it won't be ugly on Facebook or some kind of craziness, but if we can announce to everybody, we're taking them for maintenance, they're not permanently decided, it's not permanently decision. And,
I think that would be, yeah, and if we could make a notice, just let them know that it's just this is a temporary move.
I'll call the mayor and say, hey, this is, report on this, please, and let folks know.
I second her motion.
Okay.
Thank you all.
and
Thank
would
you.
you like for us the committee to get together and, come up with other options for the park for Christmas also? So if we're not gonna return the buildings to the park, if that's the decision, then we already have some other ideas in place.
Yes.
Okay.
But I would tell you, do not do this with a nativity scene at this time, because that,
Well, Eric said, I think that was his.
He's
he was gonna
all right
redo
with
it this
that.
year.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
The nativity scene, I think, could bring up a specter of religious tolerance or intolerance and all that sort of thing, so I'd be a little cautious about that.
It's not Christmas time. Thank you.
Thank you. You're good.
And I will speak on behalf of Jenny. Her and I have talked a little bit because we are on the committee together. When the gazebo is deciding to be painted, we would like input on the color.
I
Not
won't make it,
we,
because I'm getting ready to paint.
not we, but them.
Then you need to go
I don't
on,
know anything about painting, but the committee
pick
would
your
like.
color, because I'm gonna be working on that in the tavern together.
But you're not gonna be doing it before arts and crafts, right? We-
I don't think I'll get it done before
Right.
arts and crafts. We may get up there and scrape some of that flaky paint off, but I don't think the painting is going to be done until.
No, it will not be done for that. But if you wanna come up with a color, then
Okay,
Yeah,
maybe
you go.
not scrape the paint before arts and crafts then, if that's possible,
On the tavern,
on the gazebo.
I'm not gonna touch the gazebo.
Oh,
now.
okay.
or Schwarztown.
I'm gonna take some of that flaky paint off that end.
But that's not gonna be painted before.
It won't be repainted in time. No way. We can't do the procurement. It's impossible. And to be honest with you, I know there's been some concerns and questions. Are you gonna get it done before arts and crafts? One, this time of the year, I've got to be very cautious with cash. Okay? This is our cash poor time of the year, and I don't want to commit myself with the town into something that I may not have the cash to pay. Okay? And we don't.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We have a lot of bond payments. Everybody knows the financial facts about the town. The month of August is very heavy in bond payments. We make a bunch of them. And it's our poorest cash time of the year. We've collected all of our taxes in December, so we're 8 months out. And so our cash is dwindled, okay, a little bit. We're still collecting May utility bills and paying Dominion July utility usage. So our cash flow is never really, really good this time of the year. After Labor Day, we start picking up because our last bond payment until Christmas time will be the 1st of September, okay? So I don't try to commit to a lot of cash projects. We're doing a lot of work right now, but that's money that we've been saving up over the past couple of years from paving, putting curb and gutter, doing all those kind of things. So the reason we haven't jumped on it, and I typically try not to bid out new projects, for the most part, in July and August because the cash is very bad. And I can't say bad, it's a heck of a lot better than it was, but it's our cash poorest time of the year. So we will be doing it this fall before it gets cold, and the painters tell me I can't do it, but it ain't gonna be done this fall.
I think for the committee, beautification committee, from our perspective, the frustration comes in when we started asking about it. Well, started needing painting last Arts and Crafts Festival back then, and we've been asking about it ever since the committee formed. And so it seems, that's
Which committee formed?
frustrating.
The Sea-Park committee?
Beautification committee,
Beautification
which
committee.
was like what, November, October?
And I think it wasn't in the budget. Philip did include
Right.
for the possible fire sprinkler, the painting of Schwartz Tavern, and the painting of Sea Park. He did include it in the budget for July.
In the parking lot for the
Yes, but
Kurt meeting.
July is, like you said, he's cash poor right now, so we're just getting into the new budget. So it will be done, but I don't think they want anything done before Arts and Crafts. We don't want any change before.
Please
Yes.
And that's fine, I won't scrape the paint on, I won't do it, I just leave it
don't
like it
scrape the paint on Schwartz Tavern until after Arts and
is.
Crafts.
You got it?
And-
No problem.
And
I just
also-
don't wanna have any kid going around
Eating the paint.
eating the paint or trying to flick them
That'll
off.
save our guys, because we're gonna have to go up there with ladders and do it, or a bucket truck and do it, so I can just include that all as part of the total package for some of the things.
Yeah.
So I think, my point is just moving forward, if we can kind of keep C part like a deadline in our mind each year for the beautification
The
stuff.
deadline for getting the painting done is when it's too cold to paint, and that'll usually probably be middle of November. Okay, so we need to get it done before it gets too cold.
Which could be the end of October, or even November, we still have warm weather.
Yeah, middle of November, just like paving, I can't pave roads after the middle of November because they quit making asphalt, right? So if we can just say, guys, we're gonna work towards this and we'll get it done. I do have the money in the budget that was adopted and effective July 1st. But please understand, in July and August, man, I can't say we struggle because we have resources, we have money to make, but the money that we collect for utilities and things like that have to go to these bond payments, we got a $300,000 payment every August 1st, and that thing will take your breath away. $300,000 is not easy to come up with, and we put our little shekels every month, and then we spend it in August, and then so we have 2 bond payments August 1st and a $68,000 payment on September 1st, and that's the most concentrated amount of money that we spend in the year at the cash poorest time of the year. So now that we're through that, Labor Day, then I can start doing the other stuff, because the bills, even if the contractor starts a week after he gets the job and hands me an invoice, we're in September, so I'll be able to pay him within 20 days of every day. That's the cash flow.
Okay.
I'm not on the committee with Sea Park, but I do have some concerns about Sea Park.
You're welcome to be on it.
I will,
You're
okay.
welcome to be on the committee.
Okay. I realized that Monday night was not a good night to be here because I didn't expect the storm of what was going on. But for some time, I've had some concerns about the ecology of Blackstone and what's going on as far as just paving everything, putting down trees that really don't encourage wildlife to come here. We're losing lots of native birds because we're putting in plants which we grow up with these plants, but we don't realize that they're really not from Virginia. Things like crepe myrtle is a Chinese plant. It sustains very little bugs, which is probably why people plant them. But the thing is that the birds have nothing to live on. And particularly with this project, I'm really enthused about the railroad project. And in looking at the plantings, I would hope that the town of Blackstone considers native plants, which are much easier to grow, as opposed to putting out Nandina, another Chinese plant, which the red berries from that they found when cedar waxwings fly in. They fly in flocks and they eat those, and they find them deceased. And what is in their stomach? The berries of the Nandina plants. So there's a lot of research that backs these as we go along. And so I think it's time for the town of Blackstone, at least, to set an example for the rest of the town on what we could be planning. I notice we don't have any, we don't encourage yard of the week with parameters, or, yard of the week would be one of the important ones, or businesses being able to put plants out that are native. That's very important. I brought 2 books to share with you. I have one for each of you called Bringing Nature Home. Oh, you got it. Okay, so then I'll share it with Barbara. But when you read this, then you become very frightened. And I'm very frightened when I look at the town of Blackstone and what we have out there. And I feel like we could start with that project, the railroad project, that we would place native plants along there. And it would cost less to put those out as opposed to put out the exotics that we have. Then, as far as Sea Park is concerned, there doesn't seem to be a plan for the Sea Park. I mean, you're saying let's take up the buildings, but do we have a planting plan as far as plants for the spring, plants for the winter, plants for the fall, so that
We haven't addressed any of that yet.
Okay, and there are many people, well, I shouldn't say many, but there are people who are very interested in helping in that particular project, would be to the suggestions and how to go about it. And some of them even live around that park, that they would be more happy. Of course, we already have people that volunteer to take care of the buildings, but that it falls by the wayside. So, but I'm not sure. Philip, can you refresh my memory? Why don't we have a more organized program for the park? I know someone said there were things blooming out there, but I have no idea what it is. So, because I haven't seen anything. I see some shrubs, but I don't even see azaleas. Okay.
If you guys may or may not remember, a few years ago when I started here, there was a somewhat active garden club. There were, 4 or 5 ladies that were participating, and they were having work days in the park, and we'd put mulch out for them and all kinds of things. And I think that kind of evaporated. I think Mr.
Hinkle moved away, he was part of it.
He was part of it, so I think it just lost interest. And as I try to remind Zach every chance I get, we're not good at planting bushes, nor are we good at maintaining bushes. And anything that is maintenance, low maintenance, low maintenance, low maintenance, even if it means planting and doing plantings in pots, because those are easier to deal with than the mulched in beds, I try to find a very low. You can shake your head, but the town really is not in the landscaping business, and nor should we be. If folks want to have those kinds of things, oh, great. But we can't even get enough people to water the flower pots downtown, okay?
Well,
We plant stuff in those flower pots and it dies immediately.
Well,
It's ridiculous.
Well, that was what came to mind to me, was I remember there was controversy about water. And native plants, a number of them, when you look at
Oh, yeah,
on there, it says, don't give them water, don't give them fertilizer, they're happy on their own.
I think the problem is when we depend on volunteers, no offense, there's energy, but as with the garden club 4 or 5 years ago, the membership's either moved or they weren't as energetic about it.
Oh,
Yeah, they died off.
And the stuff may have died, and we, just dug it up and not replaced it, quite frankly. And I refrain from planting stuff if I know it's just going to die, quite frankly. And the stuff downtown has really discouraged me. Those flower pots, I've been very discouraged that no organization or no volunteers have stepped up downtown to keep them watered. Remember, they used to have hanging baskets, And as a cost-saving measure, when we couldn't make payroll, we said, we can't water these things anymore. And Candy and Bobby rigged up a trailer and a tank, and Candy early was riding down through town on a lawnmower watering flowers. Big mess.
Bob Hinkle said put ice cubes in there, which, you know, that's a good idea.
At the end of the day, I don't see a real push from many people, that they're willing to put a lot of energy into taking care of stuff. Okay, and the flower pots downtown are in places disgraceful. I planted several of them this summer, but only for the merchants who have specifically either asked for them and guaranteed that they would water them, or will be watering. And we've got 4 or 5 more where people have gone out, but no need in wasting money on plants. We just watch them wither and die.
I can
And
tell you from, we haven't met and discussed this yet, but I'm just thinking of, like, my backyard is full of black-eyed Susans because they bloom all summer long. The wildlife, the birds and whatever bug them, and the only thing that's for water to survive is
got them all right.
drought.
Well, it's natural to the area, right?
Are they native?
And it's also
Yes, they are.
perennial.
Yeah.
So you
Perennials you don't
do-
have to worry about as much,
and
because
they
once they get
spread,
established,
which
they
is
spread.
awesome.
And do cats like them?
No, my house is cat friendly. And
Good, I
maybe
got a bunch
some,
at my house today.
maybe, I don't know, local grasses, I was thinking.
Right, local grasses are excellent to put out there. And people, I know we have some gardening places here, but I do know that in Richmond, the Great Big Greenhouse has a complimentary service that if you bring in the pictures of your yard or space that you have, that they can help you set that up. Also, have we utilized the Piedmont Soil and Water Conservation people at all? Because they're very knowledgeable. They'll come out and look and suggest, and the Piedmont Soil and Water Conservation District, they have loads of great ideas, and they can also provide, now there's a program, VCAP, which was only for James River and the Chesapeake Bay. It's now for the state of Virginia. And they will pay for plants if we have our plan that we present to them, as long as we get our name in. It's like a lottery as we go through. Also, plants prevent a lot of the runoff from water that we're having problems with. I know that we have a lot of things that direct to the storm drain, but we'd like to see, I'd like to see that, you know, be controlled. And now we have even more money because they have a big budget now for stormwater, the SLAF programs. So I'm looking at that as far as these places where there's big holes or big watering places. Yes.
She's gonna be a fabulous addition to the Seaport.
That was
Committee.
just what I was gonna suggest. Would you be willing to
Jenny-
work with
Jenny is the
Seaport?
chairwoman, and you'd be a fabulous addition to that committee.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'd be glad to.
have
And I do have cat. I have a cat, but they stay in the house now because we are avid birders. And as I said at the
Well, it's not a requirement.
yeah. Well, I love them, but the thing is, and I was going to ask when we talked about bird sanctuary, was maybe we need to look at some cat ordinances, because with the bluebird houses, I know things are going crazy Monday, so I never got to what I wanted to say. But the bluebird houses, as I'm going around town, I can see these sad little feral cats creeping around, and the bluebird houses are set up with the baffles, and they have the knoll guards that pretty much prevent it. But when the birds start to fledge, we've tried to make sure they're close to a bush. But the thing is that those cats are out there, and in addition to the fact that I see them in town, people are dropping them off in my yard, and so, as much as I love cats, I have taken some to the veterinarian to get them checked out before I gave them to someone else, only to discover one broke my heart. It had feline leukemia, and that's probably why they dumped it in my yard. And it was just so sweet. I mean, he was up on his back legs and just loving. But I have another cat in the house who could be made very ill, although he has the thing. So,
It'd be very helpful if you would then take your ideas to the Sea Park and even the beautification committee, if you wanted to work with them, if they have openings on the committee, so that you can coordinate that so we can have something that is local plantings, good for the birds, the butterflies,
Tourism.
tourism. Yeah.
And I talked to Zach, and Zach pointed out that, can you tell them what you told me about the tavern? What one of the recommendations they made about the
Yeah,
grounds?
I think there's been some things in the past from the Nottaway Historical Association that if there were to be plantings around the tavern, the plantings that are there now are not sensitive to the time period of the historical area, so native things would be more appropriate.
And we need to work on having somebody like the master gardeners like we've had in the past to be able to provide that since the manpower's not available. So-
Right, and master gardeners are few and far between. I can tell you that. I think I did attend one of those, but I think most of the people didn't certify. So, and then I know that Reverend Smith, he's busy doing other things now. So Pete Smith was one.
You need to move on with the.
Okay,
with
all right.
this.
So I'm going
Thank
to give
you.
this to you, Barbara.
Okay.
So that you can read. And Jenny, I'll give you the other one. How about that?
All right, very good. Let's go on with our agenda. Is there anything else for Sea Park that we need to address tonight, today? If not, we're going to move on to the railroad parking project.
And that's another one that I would like to see native plants.
Right,
Jenny,
you
did you
mentioned that.
need anything else for Sea Park? Are you good? I think
Well, there's a lot of stuff, but probably not today.
We're starting on this.
Yeah, no, nothing else.
Do you need my address or phone number?
I will, I've got your, or y'all can exchange, I've got your email, I think, so.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
All right. The railway parking project. We have a packet, in our packet, we have some information, and Zach is going to be addressing that. And
Real quick before we get into that, I just wanted to update the committee on, I think it was last month or a couple months ago, we had talked about the Virginia Historical Landmark plaques. That's like 1.5 feet by a
Yes.
foot. I had given the one that was in Short's Tavern to Philip, and I think he's going to install that soon at the tavern. But I contacted the Virginia Department of Historic Resources and finally got in touch with them. That wasn't easy. And they said that they don't make them anymore per se, like themselves. They always contract out with different firms, but that plaque looks to them like it was made in the 1970s.
okay.
And we can certainly put that up, that's fine. They said that to the best of their knowledge, they're not copyrighted, which means that if the town wants to get another one or two to put in Sea Park in the town square, we would just have to go through Signs, Designs, and More, or another company in the immediate area to make another one or two of those.
There was a plaque that the Armory Group gave.
Yeah.
And I don't know where they got that from, but I think
It
Watkins
personally
had
looked like
some.
Watkins, looked like they had something to do with it, but these are much smaller than that,
Right,
you know, yeah.
okay.
So we were figuring if we wanted to have a couple more displayed throughout the HBD, Sea Park and the town square seemed like the best places for them to be.
But at least we'll get this one installed. We'll start with this one, and then we want to bring it back to the committee.
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted me to go ahead and kind of price what that could possibly
Let's go ahead and price
be.
that, yeah, then we'll have information for the committee the next time we meet.
Okay.
On the prices for that. We were talking about the historical plaque to be installed outside the Schwartz Tavern.
Yeah,
And then-
Yvonne and I and Zach met about a month and a half ago, and Zach finally brought it to me day before yesterday. Okay, so Dan Martin will be mounting it, and
Great.
we were pleased to see Zach finally got it to us.
And he was just saying that if we wanted to get more, that we would have to go through maybe Signs, Designs, More, because they talked about putting some throughout the damn town.
Those historic signs? I think that one came from the Commonwealth of Virginia.
We had mentioned that, you know, if we wanted to put another couple around the historic business district, we could maybe do that. But the Department of Historic Resources said it's not copyrighted. They don't make them per se. So we would have to duplicate them on our own.
So if you'll check prices, that way we can see what we're looking at and see if there's money in the budget for doing that, okay? All right, let's go ahead and continue on with the railway parking.
So, as you all probably know, in partnership with the town of Blackstone, we had kind of gotten the ball rolling on the railway parking project. It was about 3 to 4 months of planning for that between DBI committees, VMS, DHCD, in the town of Blackstone. Yvonne, Philip, and I met on different occasions with B&B, and all that kind of occurred in March. And then we submitted March 22nd to the state with a grant for design purposes. Apart from the municipal improvements, our improvements would include wayfinding systems at the, like a monument sign at the project site, and then other signs around side streets and church to direct motorists to the parking lot. Street lamps, banners, landscaping, planters, trash receptacles, all that good stuff. So we won the award and won the grant on July 22nd. And through all that process, you know, we met with Yvonne and Philip again last Thursday, and that was the first time that we were informed that the town had not budgeted for this project this year, even though that we applied for the fiscal year 2020 grant. It is understandable. It was a bit of a shock because it's going to set us back a little bit. DHCD is a little concerned about that. We're not going to lose the money,
Okay.
but we certainly could, depending on how council wants to move forward with it. What we would have to do to not lose the money is most likely get a formal declaration that if we are going to start July 1st, 2020, or start some work before then to get our money through our memorandum of understanding, we'd have to have a firm commitment that we're not just going to ditch it, you know, a year from now, because we kind of are in limbo, you know.
All right.
Yeah, to address it, as a matter of principle, we never budget for something that we don't know we're going to do. The $25,000 portion of it that DBI received, well, that was fine, it was grant money. Our portion is going to be much more expensive than that, several $100,000. So that would have been several $100,000 that was taken away from something else during the process of the year, either electric fund or water and sewer fund or something, police, fires, public safety. So as a matter of practice, for some of the uninitiated and people that are new at it, we don't budget for potential projects. We budget for definitive projects. Otherwise, we're bumping other things out of the budget. Things like raises for employees or benefit packages or any of those kinds of things in an effort to avoid any kind of tax increase. So I'd be happy to continue to work with Zach, but the reason we don't budget for things is because we don't know. We do have a budget. We know what it's going to cost just for the first phase, but there's 2 phases to the project. So for your information, for everybody's information, it's never good practice to budget for something because then you're just kicking out something else out of your budget because we have a finite resource, a finite revenue. Okay. The project itself, we can start on the engineering, and I was quite taken aback when Zach indicated to me that their budget, the $25,000, wasn't going to pay for any of the hard engineering. The town's already spent $9,600 doing the engineering and determining the budget. We've already fronted almost $10,000 to get this project going just to allow him to make the application.
I will say respectfully, from all the meetings we've had, we did never declare that, and we did make it clear that our design money is in design in the sense that the Main Street organization could not apply for grant money because that would be a municipal task for engineering, not something that the Virginia Main Street
So
would.
that being said, it'll be in the next fiscal year when we'll have dollar figure service construction. In this fiscal year, if I can work with B&B and maybe defer payment until the next fiscal year or something like that. But I do think in the second half of this, after Christmas time or after the first of the year, we may be able to get some of the design work done. But I've already put $10,000 into this thing and I just don't have right now. And with painting it up, I can't commit us to a $10,000 or $20,000 engineering project in order to get started and front the money, because it's all our money, okay? The only thing that they would pay for, as I understood from the meeting the other day, would be flower pots and plantings and beautification stuff. So I think this is probably a spring project at the earliest, and construction taking place after the 1st of July 2020.
Can you check with the B&B to see if they would do deferred?
I haven't talked to them yet.
Okay.
And that's where we're not asking the town, we're not, you know, angry or upset at the fact that we're not starting work now and doing anything like that. We understand the budgeting issue and get all that. We're just saying that we do hope if we're gonna get the first round of our funding, half of the $25,000 to start on the wayfinding and other stuff like that, and then we get the second installment before December 31st, we're just doing so in the very best faith and hope that we're still doing this project and it will be budgeted hopefully next fiscal year Because then, let's just say it all goes terribly wrong and we don't do it at all, how would DBI ever pay DHCD back $25,000? It's just a very scary thing if we're not in the best of agreement, you know.
So what is our action for this committee today?
I think it's more informational.
Okay.
I think at this point, I think Zach can certainly get pricing and things like that, but I wouldn't spend your $25,000 if someone want to order, because you still have a process to go through the council, appropriate enough money to do the
Okay.
construction project. So until that makes it a little further down the pike in the February, March, April time period when we start the budget, and we present you with both phases, because I think there are 2 phases to the project. I would advise Zach not to spend his $25,000 because you don't want to pay it back.
We do have to take the money from DHCD. We like before the end of September have to have it in our bank accounts from them. We don't have to spend it, of course, but
Okay.
to get the second round of that funding, we do have to have some sign or measure from the town, like a project timeline, something of the sort that indicates that DHCD
And
is
we can
comfortable.
have that certainly by springtime, and that be enough time frame for.
It would have to be before December 31st, a timeline of,
And that's doable. I think
That's
it can be
doable?
put
Okay.
together and make it manageable and do our best to meet it. But I just don't have the cash that I can tell you I can commit
Okay,
outside. We're still, we really want to get East End finished.
okay, okay.
we-
All right.
So how much have we spent so far?
$9,600 in engineering.
But we still need more engineering?
Yeah, you gotta give me some plans so we can bid them out. We need biddable docs, okay? They've done the survey work, you know, there's ribbons all around Dr. Bradshaw's office.
So this was part of that?
Well, that's a conceptual, the aesthetic side of things, what this is ultimately gonna look like. This is actually gonna be how thick and how wide and what are the standards and what are the specifications for contractors to bid on the work. So the survey work, if you go up to the antique mall at the corner of Tavern and you see orange ribbon on the light poles, so the survey work is done, okay? The
So the-
topography is done.
So the 10,000, that does not include,
Give me a set of plans. No, this is just doing the field work.
Okay.
Okay. And it has stormwater parts to it that are incidental to this project, and so there's a lot to it.
That's what I was concerned.
If you guys didn't know, the water that runs into the drop inlet, and this is probably boring for everybody, but there's a drop inlet in front of Dr. Bradshaw's office, okay? And all the water from Main Street that runs into that drop inlet, believe it or not, runs in a culvert underneath the antique mall and underneath Barrow's Grocery, and underneath the old Ep Supply building, and runs into a storm sewer there. It goes under the buildings. It's our intention in part of this project, and I think it was really Larry's intention, because there were some schematic drawings already put together when Brown Street was put in, the railroad track were taken up and all that. I think this was really the idea, is to get that underground stormwater out from under those private buildings and divert it back to Brown Street and turn it around. And that's part of what the $9,600 paid for, is actually designing that and putting that together. So when we do it, I'd like to do it one time, do the drainage, do the stormwater, and so the property owners know we wouldn't just abandon a bunch of old junky pipes under the building. We would probably fill them with like a flowable fill, like a foam or a concrete or a flowable product that would be more permanent instead of having a void under your house.
and we can always certainly, we'll file memorandum of understanding extension forms and keep delaying our
Okay.
final report to DHCD. Once we get down that road a year from now or so, we just do hope the town will be respectful with us, because the longer we do that, the more that means that we are not eligible for any further grants, because we are in this so deeply now. Yeah.
Okay.
so the $10,000 has covered the majority, you're just looking for the drawings now, is that right?
Yeah, I'll have a set of drawings. I think the field work is done, and they can transfer that information on a set of drawings and then give me a cross-section, how thick the pavement is and all that. And then those biddable documents or bidding documents can then be provided to contractors who give you a price. So it's apples to apples. It's not, well, Phil thinks it's gonna be 3 inches, but it may change. It'll be a definitive, so everybody can bid on the same thing.
But he is, and Zach is telling us that if we don't have to spend that money, but then they start looking at going, why didn't they spend that money? And then they say, well, maybe we will give them some money for the next one. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that, in the coming month, okay, timeline-wise, we're gonna get our 25,000, or half of that from DHCD, because we'll tell them we're gonna start designing the wayfinding systems and ordering the street lamps or storing them where we're gonna do that. And then we'll have to have some further indication of a project timeline in coordination with the town to get the second half of our funding. And then we can keep that money and sit on that money, I suppose, that's no big deal, till we, in the spring or late spring, summertime 2020, in July, the bidding process goes out. If we have those plans done before then, we start construction. All of our stuff is kind of post-municipal improvement. So once we can go ahead and order everything and have it ready to be installed, we can get all that stuff worked out.
I just don't think the bidding can take place
Right.
in good conscience until the budget's adopted.
And
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
okay
okay.
with us.
Okay.
We
get
just,
design work, we can get ready, but we just can't quite put it out there on the street because we can't really make a commitment of monies if we
And-
haven't put it in.
and that's okay with
appropriate.
us. We just today, for that purpose, and if it has to be brought up or recapped during council, the biggest thing that we wanted to clarify is it the best situation? Probably not, but we'll wait with the town, that's fine, with DHCD. We just do want to see it in July of 2020. We don't want to wait anymore after that, because we can't, you know.
It's all good.
It's all good then, okay. Thank you very much, Zach.
We could buy the lamps, because we need lights anyway, and with that sort of
think it would-
help along.
I think it would be premature to do that right now.
And just FYI to Philip, in the leverage verification, we did that.
Mhm.
The town shouldn't buy the lamps because we budgeted for that and
Oh,
our
that's a good
money
thing.
coming
Yeah,
in.
we've been doing that. Good, thank you.
Okay, very good.
If I may,
Yes, sir?
Madam Chairman, just make a report on 2 items.
Yes.
And I promise I'll be brief. The first of which is, I promise. Following up on the cemetery.
Is this Lakeview? Cemetery or-
Lakeview or Greenview?
Lakeview or Greenview?
Lakeview,
Okay,
Lakeview Cemetery. Lakeview Cemetery, I think it's working. I think the original rules that were adopted, that this new council has revised, I think most people have complied. I think if anybody drives through the cemetery now, there's pretty good compliance. I still have to pick up, flowers that get left out and things like that. But for the most part, I'm really proud of the folks in the cemetery. There was much gnashing of teeth, as you know, and many phone calls and hurt feelings, but I think it has gotten better. And the guys that cut the grass over there have indicated it's better because they don't have to cut grass around teddy bears and basketballs and all kinds of stuff. So I think we're there. I think we've got it. Hopefully, it could be more of a model perhaps for other cemeteries, but I think most of the people that own plots in there are complimentary, or they haven't said anything to me. I haven't had any recent really negative comments. Okay, so I think it's working. There's a couple nuances that may make some sense we may want to touch up. People call up and say, well, what do I do with flowers? Well, you put it in a metal or a marble or a granite or a stone or a concrete container. Well, a lot of people have bought these very nice flower pots. And I guess they serve the same purpose, but they're not quite concrete or they're not quite granite. So we may need to twitch that or just say it's going to be granite or concrete, and then these folks that have bought, terracotta flower pots or something like that. Problem with the terracotta flower pots and these other kinds, they fall over.
they chip so quickly.
They fall over and they break real easy.
Yeah,
So
break.
I haven't been yanking those up, but we may want to have a chat about those or go through the cemetery. If you go down Memorial Drive, which is the main road, which is 8th Street that goes on in, and go to the end to the right, there's a lot of half a dozen graves where they put terracotta flower pots and they're constantly falling over. So that may be something we want to chat about, okay? Because I've left them up there since the beginning. When the new rules went in, I have not pulled them down. But we may want to look at those, okay? Nothing draconian, because I know it's a lot of gnashing of teeth, and you guys would probably like to know what's going on before you get the calls, okay? So we'll keep you informed. Before we do anything, maybe we take a ride out there and look.
How about Mrs. Kane's cemetery for her daughter, Martha Kane? Has that been taken care of?
Yeah, last time we talked, I told you that they had graded the lot.
Thank you, I'd
Oh, yeah.
forgotten.
And that they put the footstone in. We marked the footstone for them. Yeah, it's all been done. We did that one, well, we did one for Gene Wooten and a Miss Lewis. And then there were 3 others in section 16 or 17, which is over on the far, if you're going in on the far left side behind, closest to 10th Street.
Yeah.
There were 2 or 3 lots that Latham Toes had left very high, and those have been graded off, and they're much better now. And there's still some that need some work. I promise,
you
there's
fixed-
plenty of them.
You fixed the Martha's? She didn't sound like it's been fixed, the other night.
You what?
She told me. Martha's, whatever's, Martha came,
Uh-huh.
whatever's going on with her, you fixed it?
Oh, yeah, we fixed it 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Winston went over there with,
Maybe the grass is not grown up yet.
it may still be straw
Yeah,
on top
I
of
think
it.
she was talking about getting some people in to remove that and start watering.
We don't want to.
I know,
Great,
she was gonna water.
Yeah, she can do that, I mean, if she like, but we have reseeded it and put straw back down it. Whether it's a good stand of grass, unless it gets water on a regular basis, it ain't gonna start this time of year anyhow. Yeah, crabgrass may be doing its thing and starting, okay? But we did address Martha's grave.
Very good, thank you.
All right, cemetery looking good. Medical center, and I know we talk about bushes, and we like bushes. But the bushes at the medical center, I have been to meet with the folks from Bon Secours, and we've got too many bushes over there at the medical center. If you look at the front of the medical center, we've removed several flower beds, and we've removed a lot of the shrubs on the left side, and if not all of them, except for the holly bushes. Okay? If you look to the right, there's a whole series of very low-lying bushes, and it's my intention, unless somebody tells me otherwise, we're going to remove the majority of that stuff. Okay? Simply because it catches trash. It's not appealing. There's dead bushes in there. There's gum trees growing up in it, and it is not all that great. And I think a minimalist approach is better than having a multitude of bushes. Bon Secours' site director has indicated she's fine with taking out whatever may need to be done. So if you'd like to go take a ride, I'm more than happy to show it to you. I want to take out, not all the bushes, I think some in the corners and things like that, and leave the holly trees that are there, they look very nice. But some of these other bushes that are kind of scraggly over there, it's my intention to go ahead
And then just leave a mulch.
No, we put grass, we plant grass around.
Plant grass.
I mean, there'll be mulch around what it remains,
Okay.
and then there will be grass otherwise.
Okay. Is it gonna be hard to maintain cutting the grass in between the,
You can cut the grass in between.
okay, all right.
So,
Very good.
and then there's a dead creek myrtle over there between that and Hardy's that we intend on cutting that. I noticed it about a week ago. Yeah, have you seen that thing?
I'll be around for that. Yeah, there's great models.
There's a dead creek myrtle over there at the medical center. Okay. Good turnout at the armory the other night. Better turnout than I expected. There were 200 people there. Or thereabouts. I mean, it was a pretty good
Very
crowd.
well.
Is that a fair assessment, 200 people?
No, yeah.
300, there you go. So better turnout than I expected, and council voted last council meeting to unclog the drain at the armory. And so Andre and I met over there today and showed them.
We've got the punch list for the other items.
They'll be at the next council meeting. Oh, good. The fire marshal
Marshals.
recommendations. I think Walter Mack had taken care of the vast majority of those. He may need some assistance from the town on one of the items, if I'm not
And
mistaken.
it was the electrician, I think, was one of the items, and there were some paint cans that needed to be moved, and, yeah.
I think Walter Mack has gotten most of it, but I'll bring it to the next council meeting.
Well, it needs to be done by the 29th.
But council does council want me to work over there? I mean, the motion that council has given me is nothing other than what's approved. That's what we handed out last month when Walter Mack was at your house and pleading with the mayor, talking about the town manager had changed the rules on him and all that. Now the town council's motion is this and nothing else unless we vote on it. I'm happy to go over there and work. I don't care. But if that's not the intention of the council, and I don't think it's the intention of all of council, but maybe, I don't know where it came from, but there was much confusion. But the fact remains that council's motion is, don't do anything over there unless we tell you to. You can call a special meeting, do stuff like that, but we brought a couple things to you
I need
guys.
to do a special meeting because the fire marshal, I think, is gonna come after Labor Day to do another inspection on the work that needs to be done.
And we're happy to do it, but I think council needs to approve
Can
it.
you check with Walter or that punch list with him, coordinate and see?
You have a council meeting on the 4th of September on the armory anyhow.
Okay.
So maybe we just delay that inspection and do it, what's the next thing we have, or that wedding reception? That's the only next thing that
It's October.
so we got time.
Got arts and crafts.
Well, yeah, arts and
but when-
crafts.
Pardon?
When is Arts and Crafts?
The 14th and 15th of September.
What I just said.
The
We
meeting
have a
is,
meeting on the 4th of September.
yeah, September 4th is the
But we
special.
need to make sure everything's cleared before
Don't worry
the
about that.
13th.
If the council votes on it, we'll take it.
Okay, all right. All right, let's see, I've got that taken care of. Greenview Cemetery, there's,
I
what,
don't have anything to report on.
nothing to report on that? That's still going. Do we have, we don't have, your church has some of the property over there at the Greenview?
Well, the survey shows that they gave Shiloh 8 acres. But it really doesn't belong to us, it still belongs to the family because it was never deeded to us.
Okay.
Yeah. no.
Okay. Okay,
And you're saying that the survey shows Shiloh owns it, but it was never deeded to you. Did you say Shiloh?
I don't
I'm
think
sorry.
it had Shiloh on it, but it was given to Shiloh by the
Verbally.
family.
Shiloh.
Yeah, but
they're not
it
needed.
was
Okay.
never deeded to Shiloh.
Okay. Any other projects like the paving at the museum, that's gonna happen this fall?
Well, I signed a task order to the engineers for $7,200 to do the design and draft up the plans. And I think Jennifer sent that to them Monday, if I'm not, or whatever day is in it, Jennifer, right? But there's a task order signed to go ahead and get that done. Will it be done before the holidays? I don't want to tell you definitively, but if we can, we'll certainly try to get it done.
Okay.
I just need to have a one sheet set of drawings showing how thick, because we're gonna have to take the base out, make sure there's appropriate base under it, make sure there's appropriate drainage, and then do the paving on top. Okay.
And it'll be, ADA compliant?
That's the whole goal, is to make sure it's ADA compliant and ties in with that handicap ramp on the right-hand side. Okay?
Anything else? Have we ever determined the cost of each event as far as power and maintenance?
In the Armory? I probably have not. I don't know.
Is that something that could be done? That way we can know how to set prices for rentals for people who want to use that?
Yeah, I can try. I mean, I can get Robert Thomas, who's our electrical consultant.
Okay.
Maybe he can come up with some rational type of calculation, number of hours, duration, proposed kilowatt hour usage, all that sort of thing, and see if he can give us a
That would,
rough
I think it'd be really helpful, so.
I hadn't done that, but I would.
Yeah,
I'll
that'd be
call.
great, okay. Or is there anything else to come to committee that we need to talk about?
Well, on the crate one, going back to that, could we replace it with an oak tree or something?
Or nothing?
No.
Or nothing? or nothing?
Let's hold on, we can do that.
Or
Never mind the
nothing?
nothing tree.
I like the nothing tree.
How close to the road is it?
It's not. It's in the median between Hardee's and the Meadow Center. One oak tree, we'll put you an oak tree. Or nothing. Nothing on the outside.
What happened to that plum tree that they made such a big deal about planting in front of the medical center when they first opened it?
Plum tree?
Wasn't there a plum tree or something in the?
We pulled up about 3 dead ones over there. There were some Zelkovas, which are the ones that are on Main Street that died.
Yeah.
And I think we pulled one of the Craig Myrtles out and didn't replace it. And then there was an island in the parking lot, and a tree had died, and we pulled that out. And I think it was a Zelkova, which is what's up front.
No, I thought this was like, if you're looking at it, it was on the right-hand side.
We may have yanked it up.
Could we replace the, is there any opposition to replacing that crepe myrtle with a tree that would provide shade and homes and food?
No, there's no good justification not to put anything in there. It's just, we like cutting grass because it's a lot easier than it is walking around and putting mulch down and doing stuff.
Will we live to see the oak tree be big?
Yeah,
How,
I know, so.
do they grow quickly?
I wouldn't put an oak tree because it'll grow into the park, or over the parking lot, and leaves and acorns and all that. I would find more of an ornamental. I do something more ornamental. Just so it doesn't grow in the parking lot
Yeah.
with people's cars beating on it.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Since we're talking about crepe
The ones over on, Church Street between the, that property that doesn't belong to town?
There's 2 or 3 crepe myrtles in there.
Yeah, who did those belong to?
I've got to see the town plant them because that is in the town right away. So I'm gonna. They're on town property, so I assume they want to. They're a fixture, then they would be.
Didn't you trim them before?
Yes, they need it again, so I'm like, am I asking the town to do it, or am I asking if I can just do it myself?
Do it yourself.
Go
and we'll
ahead,
pick it
do
up.
it.
If you leave it there, we'll come get it.
Or just pull them up and put something
Okay.
else.
Right?
Pull them up.
Pull them up. You don't like crepe myrtle?
No.
Are they bad?
We could find some native trees, put them in as opposed to that fringe tree.
But we do need to be vehicle friendly with what we plant back, so we don't. If you guys
That makes
remember.
sense.
Remember those pear trees we planted downtown?
Mhm.
Oh, they were all the rage for years, and everybody liked them, and they were great. But man, they dropped a trillion berries, and the birds were all up in them and pooping on everything. And
Well, they've been declared an invasive species, and the thing was that they had been bred to, they weren't supposed to fruit, but that.
they did.
But they
Big
did,
time.
and now the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries, it's an invasive species, they're working hard to get rid of them, because they're everywhere in the spring when you look.
They go plant them all.
And well, the birds spread them without fruit that they were supposed to have. And who put in the ginkgo trees?
Ginkgo, I was the one that planted the ginkgo. Bad? Bad, okay.
They used to be.
I did give
But you know, they've never-
permission to cut the
They're
trees, just so it's on
and they
tape,
only have-
if you want to.
It says, it meets with the committee's
What now?
happiness to
Oh,
let
wait,
Jenny,
trees on
trim
wood
some
is cut
crepe
Our
Myrtles
town
at the
employees
roads
are
at the bottom,
butchers,
that's
they're
all.
they're butchers, they're not pruners, so Philip did give you permission to trim the.
Unless y'all tell me different, but
It's
Are you
just-
gonna
Right
tell me
now,
the crepe
until we-
myrtles in my backyard? Make
you
them
can kill them
happy.
if you want.
We have one of the oldest crepe myrtles, and it's featured in the Virginia Tech
Really?
book. That's an old book, maybe from the 60s.
In
It
your
was
yard?
In our backyard, and it's still thriving.
Crepe myrtle